Hello and welcome to the Ground Podcast. And it's almost 9 p.m., but we still have to record this because I was curious about Luka Dončić. Is it correct? So the internet has blown up, and it has reached me. So it has definitely blown up. I don't watch NBA a lot. I do know some of the teams, but something has happened and it's big. So what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Dallas Mavericks, which is a famous team because Mark Cuban owns it, they traded off Luka Dončić, who is supposedly I think one of the best, and he's already been called being called the greatest of all time NBA players and stuff. Wikipedia. So so he got traded to Los Angeles Lakers, who is also again a famous team. And then that trade was a surprise for a lot of the fans, and the fans protested as well. And so this is what happened basically. So it's a trade off. They got a player which is Anthony Davis, who is I think a defender more than an attacker, and Luka is an attacker. So why is it significant enough? Like why is this making headlines all over the world?
Firstly, I'm not surprised that it reached you because you are, of course, even if you don't follow the NBA, you do follow sports. And almost every sports page and football players, I don't think cricket players, but football players and all of the major NFL players, all of them were talking about it. All of the major media outlets, ESPN, and every outlet was talking about it because it was that big. And it's not just that it was big, but it was unexpected. It was something that nobody thought could happen. It was along the lines of Messi leaving Barcelona. Nobody thought that day would come, but it did come eventually. So yeah, like in terms of if you're just talking about shock, it was so surprising that the journalist who broke the news, his name is Shams, and he used to work for The Athletic, now he works for ESPN. When he himself tweeted it, he had to actually clarify and post another tweet that he has not been hacked, because when he tweeted that announcement that the Lakers have traded, the Mavericks have traded Luka Dončić, every NBA player, or not every, but a lot of the NBA players started tweeting, Shams, are you hacked? Yeah. And everyone was in shock, and he had to actually clarify that, no, imagine being a journalist and having to clarify that you're not being hacked because the news that you have said is something so unimaginable. That was the overall magnitude of it. Every player was being asked about it after the game ended, the thoughts about it. There are even videos of players receiving the news while their game was going on. They're sitting on the bench, game is going on, they're checking their phone, they see the tweet, and they're just in disbelief talking to their teammates on the other bench because nobody could believe it. And just to probably explain the significance or give a reference in other sports terms, if you're talking about the financial or the impact of what this means for the market, it was more like Neymar moving to PSG, because after that move, the transfer market broke completely. That 222 million, players started getting absurd fees, and basically everyone started thinking that anything is possible, because Neymar leaving Barcelona in his prime was not something that anyone expected.
200 million,
exactly.
222 million.
222 million. And after they had just won the treble, and they had such a great trio there. But that is just in terms of marketing or the market, how the market would be. If you want to know on a deeper level or as a fan how the trade would be, like if you were a Mavericks fan, imagine Bukayo Saka, who, because you're an Arsenal fan, so this would make sense to you. So imagine Bukayo Saka when I think Arteta first came in, he was a left wing back, and the entire team around him, you know how it was. But he still was the star player. He continued to carry Arsenal. I think you won an FA Cup with him. He continued to carry Arsenal. Now they are title contenders. Imagine now if Arteta transfers out or trades Bukayo Saka to Real Madrid
for a defender, which is a possibility.
Exactly, because Arsenal already has a good defense, same as the Maverick. They don't need another defender. But they just trade their star player who has been with them for so long, and now that he can finally win something with the team, they trade him for another defender, which the team does not need, and it does not absolutely make sense, because he is their franchisee player. He is what Arsenal stands for, and he is what the team. He is someone who the team will be built around, and just traded that. How would that make you feel as a fan? That was the significance.
For cricket
of
fans
this.
out there, do you have an example?
Cricket, there is no franchisee structure as such, but if you're talking about the IPL, it would be like
imagining
the magnitude would be like Virat Kohli going
Yeah,
to
so
Mumbai
RCB
Indians, so-
having an amazing team, maybe
Yeah.
in 2016-17 when they
Yeah.
actually reached the final, and then before that season, when they knew that it's a very good team, Mumbai Indians just traded him with someone like maybe like who is just I don't know, a fast bowler or someone who RCB don't need, and Virat Kohli.
When they
is,
probably had Stark, when they had Chahal,
Yeah.
they trade him for a bowler when their bowling attack is sorted. Something along those lines. But the magnitude, it's not a perfect example. This would be because Luka is 25 in his prime. So imagine Kohli in his prime and getting traded for absolutely
2016
no
was
reason.
10 years ago. Did you realize he's 36 now? So he was 26 back then. Reality check.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Kohli getting traded in the 2016 season. Yeah, you're right. That is what the impact is.
So I was reading about this, and again another indicator that it's a huge deal because Wikipedia is like a dull, boring website who just talk in subject textbook language. But here it is. I read the first line on the night of February 2nd. This is the first thing. So it's like absolute cinema. Something has major happened. But I want to know a bit about players because all right, significant. This guy came in. I think from Europe, came here, rookie of the season. But who is he? Like, why is he rated so highly when? And I also thought NBA is supposed to be about black athletes, and here is this guy white as a a colonialist, and he's still valued this much. Who is he? Just tell me something about him.
So just to sum up in brief, just to get back to a point first about NBA being about black athletes, right now it's about Luka Dončić and Nikola Jokic, two fat guys. Like the peak male body, peak male athletic performance and dominating the NBA and just pissing all over the fitness and diet merchants. So it's not that anymore. But yeah, coming back to who Luka Dončić is, he is a Slovenian player and he was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks in I think 2018, and he was actually so at that time they had a deal with the Atlanta Hawks, and they basically swapped their pick. So basically Atlanta had drafted Luka and the Dallas Mavericks had got Trae Young, but they had a deal, so they swapped him. So Luka became a Dallas Mavericks player, and to sum it up, he is just an all-timer at the age of 25 because he is doing things, or he is breaking so many records that I can't even possibly think of. Just last season, he averaged 34-point triple-double, which is like averaging 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. So basically, a triple-double is when you have double digits in three of the main statistics of NBA, which in basketball basically. One is points. Points are the baskets which you score. Second is rebounds. Rebounds are when the ball rebounds off the basket or off the board, you catch it. Offensive, defensive, both. Third is assist. It is pretty self-explanatory. You assist players. So an all-rounder player who gets the rebounds, who gets the assist, and he was averaging 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists per game over the entire season, not just the playoffs, not just the regular season. And the entire season is around 70 to 80 games long, plus of course whatever the playoffs in the matches that they play. And in terms of records, he's broken a lot, and at the age of 25 he's a pretty he has a resume. He has 5 All-Star appearances. He has won Rookie of the Season last season. He took the team to the NBA Finals. He was the Western Conference MVP. He has a resume which a lot of players would take and retire with, and he's already better than a lot of those players. In short, that is who Luka Dončić is. Now, when I started watching the Mavericks, there was just Luka, there was Jalen Brunson with him, and those were the two players. The entire team around them was pretty bad.
Average or
Average, yeah. Just like, because that is why I gave the Saka example, because that is where Luka started with. Of course, in the initial years, he was a rookie, but after when he became the main player, there was no help around him. He used to dish out these magical assists. He's a scoring monster, but he used to dish out these assists, but there were no players to actually finish the baskets or on a lot of occasions. So he went from that. Then he got an amazing player in Kyrie Irving 2 years ago, and that is when the team finally, it started looking like, the team started to come together. Even without Kyrie, he took Dallas to the Western Conference Finals, where they lost against the Warriors. Then last season with Kyrie and a good defense in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, with PJ Washington, a lot of good players Dallas had, they dismantled the entire Western Conference, where a lot of teams that were thought to be the contenders, Luka and his team just absolutely ran past all of those teams and surprised a lot of pundits or the media guys who did not even thought that they would go past the first round. They made the finals. They lost to the Boston Celtics, which unfortunately were a super team, and there was just nothing that you could do about them because they were just simply too good. But after that season, when this was the season when Dallas actually got Klay Thompson, who is famous for his stint with Steph Curry. They were known as the Splash Brothers. With him, he won 4 rings at Golden State Warriors. He came to the Dallas Mavericks, and we were thought to be contenders, like genuine contenders, to challenge the Boston Celtics again this season. But then, of course, like when it was Luka's time to win, he was traded away because he went through all the bad patches, and now when it was time for the team to reward him, they just traded him away.
So, all right. So we have to talk about like why he was traded. But firstly, let me know about Dirk Nowitzki. Like his name also popped up a lot of times, and as per what I have read, he is Dallas Mavericks legend kind of thing. And when he was going to retire, Luka came in, and they played one season together, and he retired. And then now he was spotted watching the game when Luka debuted. And so who is he, and why was it significant enough for you to ask me this question? Yeah.
So basically, Dirk is, as you said, he was at the Lakers game, and it was significant because the Mavericks were playing at home at the same time. But here was Dirk at the Lakers arena watching Luka make his debut. Of course, he was with Luka's family, and he's sort of a mentor for him. So it was quite understandable. But as a franchisee, as a fan of Dallas Mavericks, it is kind of baffling that your team just traded away a star player. Did it actually trade away a legend too? So along those lines. But coming to Dirk Nowitzki, just to sum it up, he was the guy who actually, because of whom a lot of people are Dallas Mavericks fans now. He was the guy who brought that loyalty, because earlier there was no such superstar culture. But Dirk was probably the first superstar that the Mavericks had. He was the one with whom they won their first championship in 2011. He defeated LeBron's Miami Heat, and that team also had Jason Kidd, who is the current coach of the Dallas Mavericks. And he was a German superstar. He's currently considered as one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA. And him and Luka, of course, as you said, played in that one season. He is sort of that mentor. They have a very special relationship. And Dirk himself is a cult hero, or a hero in the Dallas Mavericks history.
So it was like an absolute worst night for the fans to just see the legend, as well as someone who could have been a legend, just move away and go to Lakers.
So it is pretty tough in the first place to have a superstar play for your team, let alone after Dirk retired. Dallas Mavericks got lucky. I would say they got lucky with Luka, and a franchisee does not just get lucky unless you're a big franchisee who can trade your main players. You need to first have those kind of players to trade them. So it is like very difficult for a franchisee to have 2 consecutive players of the same caliber who come from different nations but are still leading the team or putting the team on their shoulders and leading it to glory. In the first place, this is a very unlikely scenario, but they got lucky with it. And you just never ever trade a superstar no matter what the condition is, and let alone trade him in his prime. Yeah. So they got lucky with Dirk, they got lucky with having Luka, and a lot of fans supported that team because of Dirk and then stuck with that team because they got Luka. But after the trade, everyone was just like, what the hell, what is going on? This is not the team I recognize, because Luka himself was as loyal to the Dallas Mavericks as Dirk was. It was reported that he also had just got a 15 million home in Dallas, because he of course planned to stay there, and then the trade happened. It is just funny because it's just so surprising that a player himself is ready to commit himself to the team, but then you just sort of trade him away, and it's just you just don't trade your franchisee player when you get so lucky like that. And before you mentioned about Mark Cuban, he was the owner, a majority owner earlier, but in 2023 he sold 73% of the control to a group, and he is not the owner anymore. But he himself had quoted that if he had to choose between Luka staying at the Lakers or his wife, you would find him next day at the lawyer's office preparing the divorce papers. That was how much he wanted to keep Luka, or that was how much everyone considered that
his
Luka
wife clearly does not watch any kind of news or tweets anything or watches NBA. That's why he was able
his
to
wife
say
would
that.
agree, because that's how important Luka was to the Lakers. That's how crazy this entire thing is, because the owner saying stuff like this, I mean, of course it was a joke, but still having that sort of confidence that this player would stay, and then staying committed to it, the player himself, and then how things unfolded, it was quite surprising.
Because what you have told me, from that I get ki you don't trade your superstar player. So why trade him? Few reasons that were given, again, which I read. I'm giving you my perspective, like what is reaching to the outer circle, external circle. So they had some issues with his fitness and about his contract as well. But when the manager was asked, like, wouldn't you give the superstar contract anymore, or like what was that the issue? So he like declined to answer, and he said that that's not the case. Like, we are ready to give contracts, but we are just focusing on the team, and we want players who are going to take us forward with that team culture. So from that, I get that Luka had a bit of an attitude in maybe last few seasons, when maybe, like you said, he was the only one who is taking them forward, and perhaps he wanted more money, and then they probably didn't agree to it. So this is a story that I get, but what is the official thing, and then what are your theories about this?
So, first of all, as you said, he is that kind of a player. He is, and he is he is that kind of a cocky player that if you say something to him, he will not only give it back to you with his mouth or with his actions, but he will actually give it back to you on the field as well. So, the official reason, as you said, I mean, official reason as such, there is nothing, because the statement that Nico Harrison, the team manager, general manager of the Mavericks, gave out after the trade was confirmed was that you have to make tough decisions in basketball. This is one of those decisions, and I completely stand by it. And the team's new owners, of course, he had their full support. After that statement came out, and this was when the news had broken out by the journalists, it was not officially confirmed by the teams. Like no post was being made. So this was when Dallas Mavericks started acting really, I would say, in a way that no fan would want their team to see, because they started leaking out briefs to the media that the reason Mavericks traded them was because after being in this industry for so long, you realize the difference between briefs given out by teams or what the journalist himself writes or what his perspective is. So these were clearly briefs given out by the Mavericks PR team, so that they could probably gain back the opinion of the fans into thinking that they actually made a good move, where it is completely backfired, because the briefs given out to them were that first, as you said, they were not sure about his fitness. The reasons were that he had conditioning issues, according to them. They put out briefs that he was pushing too much weight. He was 270 pounds, and they did not see him as this was part of the briefs, that they did not see him as a player that they want to build their franchisee around. They're talking. They're saying this
All right,
about.
superstar issues. Like
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
The team thinks that
But-
his attitude will be contagious to other players, and okay.
No, this is not about your attitude. This is about his physical.
Yeah, like basically, I mean, if he's not doing the conditioning right, or
Oh,
if
yeah,
he's
yeah,
given
yeah,
the
in that
freedom
way, yes.
to just like be himself, then obviously other players are like, like I want to be that. They're not going to self retrospect and say, all right, I'm not as big as him.
So, I mean, last season he played through back injuries. He played through injuries he sustained in the game, but he still continued to play. He played all the games. Then he did not rest because he went to Slovenia to play the Olympics qualifiers with his national team. And basically, he put his entire 100% for the team. Then he went to fight for his national team, and then he joined back the Mavericks camp again. But it backfired because he got injured after that because of what he put his body through for the team last season, because the Mavericks were in a position that they actually went and challenged for the title. That was a moment he could not prioritize himself. He prioritized the team. And then the team coming out and saying this stuff, which is still okay, you want the fans to believe, but then you trade a 25-year-old for a 32-year-old player, and then you say that is not the player you want to build your franchisee around. Then you bring in a 32-year-old, which makes no sense. And the team should be more transparent with the fans, I think. And of course, as you said, the contract situation. So basically, he was eligible to sign a supermax contract worth $345 million for the next 5 years. But because the Mavericks traded him, now he's not eligible for that. So basically,
you are eligible when you play around 5 seasons for a team.
so players that play 10 seasons, there are certain criteria. 10 seasons, you're automatically eligible. For a certain team, yes, you need certain all-star appearances. He had fulfilled all of those criteria, and he was going to be eligible. He had officially not signed anything yet, but he was going to be eligible. So basically what the Mavericks did was they traded him, and when the trade happened, he had no idea about it. The players that got traded had no idea about it. Nobody in the league had any idea about it. So they traded him against his will when he did not even know about it, when probably he was sleeping. They called him fat because you're fat, so
Let's
we can't
face it,
build
they
your
called
team
him
around
fat,
it.
yeah.
And the third reason was they took away his contract, which he had deserved to earn that much for the team, because what he had, done for the team basically.
And that could have like officially put a stamp on his value in NBA itself. Like he would have gotten into the big leagues. Yeah.
Exactly. And they did all of this. And then I told you what kind of a player he is. So I really believe that he's going to score 100 points against them the next time. Because when you do all of these things, which I really feel the team could have handled all of this really better instead of just shitting on that player and trying to justify their decisions, which were not taken in the interest of the team or the fans. And then just completely like disregarding or just playing so badly that his entire reputation gets tarnished is a really shitty thing to do as a team. And now he'll be even more motivated to do something because you did something like this to him. And in terms of contracts, so just a fun fact for you as well, there is a no trade clause that players can insert in their contracts, which is pretty simple or self-explanatory, that the player cannot be traded against his will. If the team actually decides upon a trade, they have to get that player's permission. But the most astonishing thing about it, it's so rare that till now only 2 players have used it. First is Bradley Beal. He had it when I think he was at the Wizards, and then he got traded to the Suns. And the second is LeBron James of the Lakers. He has a no trade contract. But I think after this Luka move, a lot of players will start to put that contract, that clause into their contracts, because to avoid situations like this, or to avoid their franchises pulling out moves like this. So overall, this was the reasons or the briefs that the Dallas Mavericks put out.
But you don't believe them.
Of course, I don't believe them because since the start, I have been telling you about. I explained the entire scenario to you, how absurd this is. Now I told you what the team told you. Even though you don't watch NBA, you watch sports. You watch sports in which transfers happen. Do you yourself believe that?
So when something like this happens, 100% of the times it's the management that has effed up.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. Only rarely in Ronaldo's case when he came to Manchester United where he directly lashed out against the manager and stuff, and you know, but you have to be Cristiano Ronaldo for that to happen when you're the reason why breakups happen. But it's mostly the teams, and it's mostly, I don't know, because of some internal change, internal management, someone doesn't like this player, and it's administrative politics that then creeps down to the management, and then the player has to suffer. It happens a lot of times, and managers also get fired because of that. But now, so in this case, what is that other side? Now, all right, okay, from your side, Luka is a player who gives 100%. From the franchise side, he's a player who gave 100%, but in recent times he's putting on weight, and we don't want that in our team culture. That's the thing. So what's the other side? Like what are we missing here that you feel is the correct reason?
So, see, it's not. I actually don't know about the inside stuff as much, and no fan would know about it because you just cannot know what's going on inside the management. So, I have just come across theories, which a lot of theories, but there are
just before, so we talked about Hardik Pandya, and you said that okay, it's a 10 times but again in that situation, like Mumbai Indians management just randomly decided we don't want a World Cup winning captain. He wasn't a World Cup winning captain by that time, but like we don't want him, and he then, without consulting anyone, telling anyone, they went to Gujarat Giants, bought Hardik Pandya, said he's our captain. It was such a chaotic situation where Indian fans were hating on their own players. Obviously, Hardik Pandya redeemed himself, luckily. But again, it's just the management causing chaos, and they don't have the courage to actually speak honestly with perhaps the players, or whatever, because in the end they are the boss. They should speak very honestly, but obviously they don't, and they do something like this where it's just again chaos. We saw Rohit Sharma's wife commenting something like to Mark Boucher's video. So all this happens, and then fans are left in nowhere's land. So like, who should we support, the player or the team or whatever? So yeah, just want to tell that now.
So I think in Pandya's situation, he wanted to come to Mumbai Indians.
No, he
right?
said if I come to Mumbai Indians, I have to be the captain, because he was the captain. He
So
was
he
a
was
IPL
consulted in that scenario. Here the
No,
player
he
was
was-
not consulted at all.
Yeah, he was somewhat, of course, somewhat
and
consulted.
The perfect way to describe this would be them getting Pandya but sending Bumrah,
Yeah.
Mumbai Indians.
Yeah.
Because that's idiotic, and that is what happened here. So, yeah, if a trade system existed in cricket or football, we would probably see more idiotic trades. But thankfully, it doesn't. For the fans, it's a good thing. But yeah, coming to the reasons part, I have come across or I have read some theories which I myself believe could be the reason, because there is no logical or sane explanation to describe what happened. One thing is that this one I don't actually believe in, but it does sound believable to people. I don't know how it would work, but it does make sense that the NBA ratings were kind of going down because recently there is no LeBron James is kind of near retiring. Steph Curry is entering into the I think he's 35 or 36 now. And looking at the future, there is there is Luka, there is Jokic, but people are not watching the NBA that much. The TV ratings and stuff are going down. So some people were saying that the NBA kind of did this trade, orchestrated this trade, and it makes sense because if the Mavericks' reasoning was that they wanted Luka to be traded away because of conditioning issues. First, they got in Anthony Davis, who has missed, I think, multiple digits games in the last 7 seasons.
He got injured again.
He got injured again. Yeah, exactly. So if that was the reasoning, then why trade Luka, who does not get injured at all? Second, if they really thought that he was not the franchisee, he was not the player that they would build their franchisee around, why not openly announce they're trading Luka and get into a bidding war, get even more better players? There are better players than Anthony Davis, right? For a player of Luka's caliber, teams could have traded a lot, and actually Dallas Mavericks lost the trade not just in losing Luka, but they only got Anthony Davis, they got Max Christie, who is a good player to be fair, but they only got 1 first round pick. And players like not even on that level have got 4 first round picks. Like for example, I would say player like Mohit Sharma, just to give you an example. If Mohit
For a second, I thought there's a player called Mohit Sharma in NBA. I was like, what?
to give you a cricket context, Mohit Sharma got 4 first round picks and Hardik Pandya just got 1. So there is no logical reasoning, because if the Mavericks really wanted to trade Luka, they would have actually gone out in the market, got into a bidding war and got a better player. That is why this makes even more, this seems suspicious, because the Lakers, as everyone knows, is the popular franchise.
And it was written that they insisted, like they didn't publicly announce the trade because they wanted Anthony Davis. And if they would have done it, other teams would have come in and they would have spoiled the trade. And then Lakers would have maybe opted out. So it's like, so you wanted him. And I don't know how reliable it is. It was on again.
No, it's
So by that sense, they really made a very bad deal, because they're taking in, like you said, 32-year-old who I think is out of his prime now. I think he
No,
won,
I mean, he's still pretty good. He is like, defensively, he's one of the best. But again, there are
Could be-
better
yeah,
players
could be better.
and
For-
younger players than him that the Mavericks could have got. So that was the first thing. And again, as I said, Lakers is it's like Madrid. Lakers are Barcelona or Madrid, and Celtics are Real Madrid. Those are the 2 teams who have the most NBA titles between them. Last year Celtics won, so they have won more than the Lakers. Before that they were tied. And Lakers have had a long history of superstars. They've had Wilt Chamberlain, they've had Shaquille O'Neal, they've had Kobe Bryant, they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they of course have LeBron James. So they have a long history of having superstars in their team. And now that LeBron James is retiring, they did not have a superstar for the foreseeable future. Now they have Luka all of a sudden, and it just kind of sounds suspicious. And there was also one theory, and it worked, because everyone was talking about this. People tuned in to Luka's debut, people who were watching Lakers matches. An NBA match was telecasted on YouTube live when there is an official subscription that you have to take to watch NBA matches. That was subscribed by the main channel, and only the Lakers match, but Luka did not even play in that match. So the hype was created, and you could argue that the Super Bowl was last weekend, but how many people were actually talking about the Super Bowl or anything else for that matter? Everyone was talking about Luka. So it kind of worked. It might work in the future.
Could be, because we know that US companies do that. MLS, for example, did so much to bring in Messi, and they just reaped benefit for 1.5 years. Now it's gone, but that hype really, brought them on the football map, on the world map as well.
Yeah. And the second theory, it's a bit extensive. I'll try to make it as simple for you to understand. So the owners, as I said, Mark Cuban sold 73% of the control. So the 3 main people who are in charge, one of them is an Israeli businesswoman. Now, people say, and it's pretty evident, that they have no interest in basketball or the Dallas Mavericks. They have a company called Sands Casino, and they want to use the Dallas Mavericks to make profits of gambling. Now, it may sound a bit confusing. I'll explain how. So, first of all, gambling is illegal in Texas. Okay. And these owners, as I said, they own a company called Sands Casino. Now, they have been trying to get a bill passed in the legislative assembly, I think, of Texas, for gambling to be made legal. They have lobbyists. By lobbyists, I mean people that they pay in the assembly to vote on their behalf, but they have not been able to do that. So now the next session that will take place for this is 2 years from now in 2027. Now what the scenario here is, how Dallas Mavericks is involved is, they don't want anything to do with Dallas Mavericks. They're not interested in basketball, like how majority of the American owners are with our football clubs, like Glazers with the Manchester United. They don't care about it. They probably care about their baseball teams more. Now, because they are so into gambling and the bill is not getting passed, their option is to try to move the Dallas Mavericks to Vegas. Now, Vegas, as you know, gambling is legal there. Their main aim is to build a destination resort casino, which is like a pretty big thing. It will be a destination resort and it's a pretty self-explanatory. But how do they do that? Is either by moving their franchisee to Vegas or by getting gambling legalized in Texas. Now the first option is not viable. How will the second option work is that they make the Dallas Mavericks unprofitable. Now how do they do that is by selling their franchisee player, which they did. They even made another trade. They traded Quentin Grimes, which they acquired this season. He was playing pretty good. They traded him for another old player called Caleb Martin. Slowly, it is starting to seem like they are building a roster of old players. Anthony Davis is 32, Kyrie Irving is also in his 30s, Klay Thompson is also in his 30s. Now, with no future, their star player being sold, that local fans will start turning on the team. Fans might not go to the stadium. They won't go to the stadium won't be filled, which would result in a lack of revenue, which would mean that the Dallas Mavericks is an unprofitable organization, right? Which would mean that they would have to abandon or disown the team. But on the other side, the DFW, which the full form is Dallas Fort Wallace something, that area is the fourth largest media company in the entire United States. So the NBA would not allow the team to be abandoned because they cannot lose out on a market like this. So the NBA would happily let the Dallas Mavericks shift to Vegas to become profitable and to run the franchisee, right? So now what they plan on doing is to make the team unprofitable so that they would have to abandon the team, but the NBA would not allow that, and the local assembly would also not allow it. So they would have no other option other than allow either legalize gambling in Texas or allow the team to move. Both are win-win scenarios for these owners, and they are trying to make that happen. And since the next decision is in 2 years, I think their aim is by then, because they've already started, they have 2 years by then to make the team as bad as possible so that the fans don't have any hope. They stop going to the games and they can get their destination casino resort or whatever you'd like to call it. Now, has this happened before, you would ask? Yes, there was a team called Seattle Supersonics who had to move to Oklahoma City, and now they are known as the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the reason was not gambling. The reason back then was that the owner he did not have the money. He had to ask funding, and then some people from Oklahoma City they agreed to pay the money that was required, but his condition was that the team should stay in Seattle. But they were like, if you're paying, why would the team stay in Seattle? Eventually it went to Oklahoma City. So this could happen. It's not like it's impossible. When I said at the beginning, it may have sounded so crazy, but even it sounded crazy to me. But when I read some person's entire post on this, it started to make sense why the owners would do this. And only some Israeli Jewish people who have no connection with basketball whatsoever and are only focused on money or gambling or just profits would do something like this, and it makes complete sense. And of course the NBA would side by them, because as I said earlier, it is a win-win situation for them as well, because they get Luka in the Lakers because of this trade. So there are a lot of theories you could come across, but this is the one that made the most sense.
I would have said that you are talking nonsense if I believed in capitalism, but I don't, and I really feel that this is a much better possibility than what the team actually said. because businesses, yeah, these people don't care about fans and anything, and that's why, just a side note, I posted a story that UK is trying to bring in a third party regulator for Premier League.
Yeah.
Because they believe that this money thing has really destroyed football, even though the league is the one of the best leagues, but like the teams which are bottom of the table, they're really struggling, because when someone from Saudi, someone from Qatar, they come in, they don't care about football and they don't care about fans and stuff. They change the name of the stadium, they change everything. And we have seen even happen with our own Indian owners. Yeah, I mean, they went there, took a team that had won the Premier League, the only team to win the Premier League outside of the top five, top six, and they ruined the club. They didn't know how to run it. They just went there. Fortunately, now they've started to understand, and maybe Blackburn can come in to the Premier League. But yeah, owners do that, and I mean, this would be horrific and horrible for fans who absolutely give everything, and fans have to be the center of sports, because without them, this money and stuff, it will evaporate in 2 years. I mean, imagine during COVID, you had the TVs, you like everyone. I mean, clubs could have said that, all right, people are at home. If we keep two matches in one day, they will still watch it. So where did that TV revenue go? They didn't receive it because fans were not in the stadium. There was no culture. There were no one who are, they were willing to sacrifice their salaries, pay the match ticket, and we experience it in India as well. Like we have to pay so much that we obviously don't, but it's like many times we don't. But sometimes it's like, okay, we don't have a lot of games here, but let's just go. Imagine IPL without fans, the TV revenue will drop, because I don't know, because fans are not there in the stadium. So I mean, it's
And
sad.
it's also happened with our own team, like Pune City, the owners failed to pay up, and then Hyderabad just took over. Like
then they failed.
yeah,
Then the
exactly.
owner came
So
in
this is the
for-
exact scenario. Like Pune City FC did not care about its fans, and they basically put the entire blame that the team could not run. Fans did not attend the game. This is what those people are also going to do, and they are just going to be like, "Hey, the team is not running. Either abandon the team or let us move to Vegas or just legalize gambling here. We can make it profitable." Which sounds like the pieces start to fit together when you think about it. But I really feel bad for the Maverick fans because, as I said, the Anthony Davis, as you mentioned, he played the first game. He got injured after the first 3 quarters, and in the last game against Kings, the Mavericks lost. Fans in the stadium were protesting against the general manager Nico, and the team actually ejected fans from the stadium, which is a pretty shitty thing to do again, because just because they were protesting. And there was also an incident where a fan was on the big screen. They popped the narrative and he said fire Nico, and they zoomed out as fast as they could. And even Mark Cuban was at the stadium and he was abusing fans, like shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down. The coach after the game did not give any post-match interview, which is pretty weird. It does not happen that much. The players are injured, not just Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, all of them are injured. And the fans, it seems like they are the only people to suffer out of this, because this is a nightmare scenario. They went from dreaming about possibly the championship or the finals this season to probably even scrambling to make the playoffs or the play-in tournament now.
Yeah, and hopefully, I don't know, things take a good turn, but I don't feel it will. And we have experienced it for the last 10 years. Me, not 2 years, 8 years. For me, it's still continuing for you. So, all right. I think it's time to end. Gained a lot of knowledge. I think I will be tuning in for the NBA. I think it's at 5:30 a.m. here.
It depends on the games, but the West games are pretty. They start a bit late than the East games, around 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by tables and stuff. So I used to check on NBA and even NFL, and I don't even know like how they play baseball, but still, but kind of interesting. Now we have to watch what happens to
You can
Dallas
start by
Mavericks.
watching the Lakers and Luka, because that is how.
I started
No,
watching the
I'm
NBA.
a anti-establishment. Now I will I won't watch Dallas and Lakers games now. I'll choose like this
You
one
can
team.
start watching the Thunder because they are kind of like Arsenal because they have a young core and they are.
Yeah,
Looking
suggest
like
me.
contenders.
Yeah, after the podcast, suggest me a team that has the potential but will never win for the next 10 years. But every season it will feel like what kind of an effort they're doing. They
I
might
have
win
chosen the
it.
team for you, man. But we'll
All right.
discuss it after.
All right. Thank you for watching. This is the end. Hopefully, for non basketball fans, it was good, and for maybe basketball fans, the last theory was good enough to discuss. Subscribe. Yeah, I think we are done. All right. Until next time.